Hi, I'm Jimmy from Accu-Tie Rail Systems, your one-stop shop for all your track laying needs. And today we're going to put together a little video explaining the ease and accuracy of our turnout kits. As you see here, they come packaged. You'll receive two boxes, one long tube holding all the long pieces to the turnout and a small box containing all the railroad ties and hardware and instruction sheets. So let's get started. All right, so assembling a switch, it's nice to have a second guy to give a hand because it just makes it easier. So what we're going to do now is unpack everything, kind of stage it, make sure all the components are here, and then we're going to start putting our ties in order. Here's our step-by-step instruction sheet that we'll set to the side for now. Okay, what Dave just did here was put all of our ties in numerical order. Each one of our ties comes CNC machined with the number of tie in correlation in where it goes in the turnout, as well as the CNC machine holes for the screws to go in to hold the switch in place. You basically just want to eyeball space them to where it looks, correct, about a tie's width between each tie, and that'll just give you a ballpark of where you need to have everything for the initial assembly. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and grab our instruction sheet here. The most important thing about the setup of the turnout is you kind of want to get to the end of the turnout where you're going to follow the radius out. And when you have a right-hand turnout, you're going to put all the numbers on the left-hand side because the curve goes out to the right. If you have a left-hand turnout, you do the opposite, put all the numbered sides of the ties on the right-hand side. So this being a number, or a right-hand number 5, all of our ties go to the left-hand side. All the numbers go to the left-hand side. So included in the turnout kit along with the ties, you'll receive all of the screws necessary to attach all the rail to the ties, screws for attaching the ballast plate to the bottom of the ties for the throw, the springs, washers, cotter pins, and bolts necessary to attach the action to the banjo throw also included, and shoulder bolts to attach your points to the rail. All right, so the tools we're going to need to assemble this are pretty basic. They aren't included, but what we need is a impact driver with a Phillips head bit, 3/16 Allen wrench, an 1/8 inch Allen wrench, a 5/16 hex driver, and now that we have our tools gathered up, let's start assembling. All right, for our first step, we're going to grab our ballast guard and our number 6 screws, and we're going to attach them to the number 3 and number 4 switch ties here, and this is where your throw is going to mount to at the end of the assembly. Now, one problem that we run into periodically is when we flip these upside down to attach the ballast guard, they flip them straight over, and then when it's attached, your number 3 and 4 are out of order. So what we found the best way to prevent this from happening is grab your number 3 and number 4 ties, flip them over together. That way when you flip it over, once the ballast guard is assembled, they are in the correct order. The ballast guard has two sides to it here. One side is smooth and the other side has a texture. We put the texture facing down so that way when you flip it over, the texture is facing up. One important thing to take into consideration here while putting the screws in is don't over-tighten them. It's pretty easy to strip them out if you start ratcheting the screw into the plastic. Okay, our next step here is we're going to lay the main straight rail on the turnout. As you can see here on the bottom of the rail, it's marked with a number 1. That goes on your number 1 tie, and the 2 holes on either side of the 1 sit right over top of those holes, and that's where we're going to start. As you laid out your ties initially, you kind of eyeballed the spacing. Once we start putting these screws in, that's going to set your spacing for good, and you don't have to worry about spacing anymore. So Dave, come on down and let's start putting the screws in this main straight. Okay, so all the screws are in the main straight now, so we're going to go ahead and grab the main curve. And just like the main straight, it starts on tie number 1. One thing you're going to notice as we start putting our main curve in here is a lot of the ties are going to be going all over the place. Just straighten them out, line them up with the hole, and put your screw in and you'll be fine. Okay, our next piece here is the straight closure rail. It starts on tie number 10 and ends on tie number 20, and it's going to go nearest the curve. And actually, the rail itself is going to hang over onto tie number 9, but remember, the number in the holes correlate with the tie that it gets screwed down to. Okay, next we're going to install our cast aluminum machined frog here. We're going to take the narrow end of the frog and place it right up against the end of the straight closure rail. Okay, on the frog here you're going to notice that the holes are slotted, and the only reason that they're slotted is because this frog can be used in either a left hand or a right hand turnout, and as you can see the holes line up perfectly, so we're going to go ahead and fasten this down. Okay, the frog's attached now. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, next we're going to install our point behind the straight closure rail. I just want to point out that the points are mirror images of each other, and they both have a welded on lock nut, and that's going to attach the rail to the point. They'll be attached by using a 1/4 inch shoulder bolt, and you're going to tighten the shoulder bolt until it hits a positive stop. The way that you identify which one goes on the right or left-hand side of the switch is by the welded-on nut. It's going to slide behind the closure rail to the outside of the turnout. So let's go ahead and put our point in place here. Okay, so now that we have the point tight, by tightening the shoulder bolt all the way till it hits positive stop, you're going to notice that there's a little bit of slop left in the point. And that's actually by design. That allows the automatic return function of the points to work properly. Okay, so now we have our curved closure rail. We're going to go ahead and screw this down. It starts on tie number 10 here, same as a straight closure rail. We'll set it right down here on number 10 and butt it right up against the frog. Okay, Dave, let's go ahead and screw this thing down. All right, let's go ahead and grab the next point. Okay, and we're going to put this other point in. Attaches the same way as the last one. Just remember to tighten that shoulder bolt all the way up until it hits positive stop, and we should be all set. Okay. Okay, next we're going to install our extension pieces at the end of the frogs. We have a curved extension piece and a straight extension piece. The curved extension piece starts on tie number 24, and you'll see it follows the curve right out of the frog. And same thing with the straight, starts on tie number 24 and follows the straight out of the frog. So we're going to go ahead and screw these down and move on. Okay, next we're going to install the guardrails. There's a guardrail for the straight side and the curved side. They look very similar, but they are different. The holes are in different spots. So let's go ahead and put them in place here. You'll see there's a number 22. Goes right on tie number 22 here on the straight side. And on the curved side, also on number 22. Set it right down. Holes all line up. Let's go ahead and screw her down. Okay, the next thing we're going to get into here is assembling the switch throw mechanism. This attaches the banjo throw to the points and has some springs in here which are critical in your automatic pass-through, which allows the points in the switch mechanism to return once you pass through with your train. So let's go ahead and assemble this. Okay, first thing we're going to do is make sure our tie strap is laying flat on the table with the 90-degree pointing upwards, and your push bar with the 90-degree pointing towards you. Okay, we're going to grab the push rod here and slide a cotter pin in through the pre-drilled hole. Bend it over just a little bit. It doesn't take much to hold it in place. Slide a washer on, and then one of the springs. Now we're going to insert it through the 90-degree angle here on the strap. Go ahead and put another spring on. And Dave, if you could, help me here hold this tension. We're going to take another washer and install the last cotter pin. Bend it over a little bit. And there we go. Okay, we'll go ahead and take our assembly here down and slide it under the switch points. Okay, now we're going to take our assembly that we just finished and slide it between ties number 3 and 4 just above the ballast shield and attach it to the switch points. You're going to notice, just as with the switch points, these also have welded on lock nuts, and that's what we're going to screw our bolts into. We're going to go ahead and flip this over, and you're going to notice we're going to be setting washers on top of the holes. These washers are very critical because these space the strap from the bottom of the point to prevent the points from digging into the strap and causing unnecessary binding. So this is kind of a tedious job. It helps to have 2 guys here for this. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this in. Be real careful that your washers stay in place while you're sliding it in there. Dave, go ahead and put your 1/4 cap screw in there and tighten it down. He's going to tighten that bolt down all the way until it's nice and snug, and then back it off about 1/4 turn to allow for the proper clearance between the point, spacer, and tie strap. Okay, we'll run it back and forth a little bit here just to make sure our clearance is set properly. Looks good. And next thing is we'll grab the banjo throw and install that. Okay, so the switch is just about done. Now we're going to move on to our last step here and install the switch throw. So we're going to install our pillow block assembly here. We're going to take the push rod, and on the wide side of the pillow block assembly, we're going to insert the 90-degree angle on the push rod into the bottom hole in the bottom of the banjo weight here. Slides in nicely. Place a washer on the end of the rod and insert a cotter pin into the hole. Bend that over a little bit and we'll set it in place. take our number 10 screws here and our driver. Okay, go back and forth a couple times here. Looks like it's moving nice and smoothly, actuating the points very nice. Okay, now that we've installed the pillow block assembly and the banjo weight, we're going to go ahead and test it out, make sure it's working properly. We'll throw the switch over, make sure that it pulls the points and engages properly into the machine grooves in the rail, and back and forth. It seems to be functioning nicely. To check to make sure your auto return feature is working properly, you pull the points over and make sure that it snaps back properly into place. And it seems to be doing that quite nicely. So we have a truck that we've brought with us to demonstrate the pass-through feature. Thanks, Dave. And so what we'll do here is I'll push it back. Go ahead and push it back down to me. I'll throw the switch the other direction. You'll notice here that the truck glides through nicely and it snaps back in place. We'll run it down the other way, throw the switch, go ahead and push it back down, and it glides through and returns the way it should. So this switch is all ready to go and be placed out in your layout, and as you can see, it's a pretty painless process and it goes together really smoothly. Well, here we have our assembled number 5 right-hand turnout switch kit. Hopefully you found this video informative and you see the benefit in the Accu-Tie rail system, quality, precision, and time savings that you gain from using our products. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to give us a call or send us an email.